Okay, so in this video, we are going to learn how to send emails with Django. So what we're going to do here is configure our registration form to send all new users some kind of welcome message when they create an account on our website. Now, this email that we send has to come from some kind of email provider. So what we'll have to do here is configure our Django backend to an email host provider. So in my case, I will be using Gmail. That's a very common one that I know a lot of people have, but if you want to use something like Zoho or a third-party option like SendGrid or anything like that, you can do that too. So basically any kind of provider will work. The configuration may be a little bit different, but the functionality will be the same here. So once we send out that welcome email, we're going to go ahead and in the next video configure our password reset functionality. So we'll basically need what we do in this video to work in the next step here. And when a user forgets their password, they're going to enter their email here. So they're going to be prompted once they click on this, and they are going to get an email from us on instructions on how to actually reset their password. So we'll do that in the next video. So let's do a search for Django emails. And I just want to pull up some documentation on how Django tells us to do this. So if you do a search for that, it should pull up this page here, and it's basically a way of sending emails with Django. And basically Django will provide us a wrapper function around Python's SMTP lib module. So this is a way of sending emails with Python, and Django provides a wrapper around this, so we can do this with Django, and it makes the integration very easy. So if we look at this example here, this is after we actually configure things, so we can't use this right away, but basically we would import something like the send mail function, and it's not the only one, there are other options here, but this send mail function would take in something like our subject, it'll take in the actual message, so the contents of what we want to say in the email, and then a from email. So this is going to be your sender. So Django will actually have to log in to this email and then send an email on our behalf. Now, after that, we just have a list of recipients. So this is a list right here. We always have to wrap it in a list, even if you're sending it only to one user, but you do have the option of sending it to multiple people. So we have the subject, body, from, and to email. Pretty simple. That sends an email once things are configured. Now, to actually configure things, we're going to need to go into our settings.py file, and we're going to have to provide things like the email host, the port, the password of the email that we're using, the actual email, and so on. So we'll have to provide these credentials. So anytime we trigger this function, Django knows what to do based on what's in here. So these values. So let's go ahead and go into our settings.py file. So we'll go into our Django project, and I'm going to go ahead and configure this just above my static files. So you can do this anywhere you want, but I'll just keep it above the static files. So the first thing I want to configure, and these are going to be like your bare minimums of what you need to make this work. So the first thing I'll want is the email backend. So in this case, we're telling Django that we're going to use this email backend. So this right here, I guess this library or module. So we're going to set the email backend, and this is going to be django.core.mail.backends.smtp.email backend. So we're just telling Django what we're going to use to actually send these emails. Now after this, we need to tell Django who our host is. So we're just going to use email_host. And for Gmail, we can set this to smtp.gmail.com. Now, if you're using something else, you might have to look up exactly how to do this. I know for Zoho, it's just Zoho, so smtp.zoho.com. That's another provider I like to use, but we're using Gmail, so we're going to leave it like that. And I'm not sure why it's underlined. I know that's correct. So we'll just continue from here. And the next thing is our email port. So we'll just do email_port, and we're going to be using TLS for this. So in this case, let's go ahead and just look up our provider and the port. So we'll just do Gmail port, and this is where we should find that. So we'll do Gmail port, go ahead and add in your provider and then type that in. And we are going to be using TLS, and we want outgoing emails. So if we're using IMAP here, the port would be 5 or 993. We are going to be using an SMTP server, and we are looking for TLS here. So if it's SSL 465, if it's TLS 587. So let's go ahead and set that. So 587, and then we can do email_use_TLS, and this is going to be set to true. So we're telling it we are using TLS. Now for the next two, all we need to do is provide it the email that we're going to use. So the email account that we'll actually connect to. So we'll just do email_host_user. And this is going to be your email. So we'll just do your and then we'll just do @email or something like that. So in this case, I created a dummy email just for this, for tutorials. So in this case, we're just gonna say, we'll use yours, but I'm gonna say from.email.@gmail.com actually. So from.email@gmail. So that's the email I created just for tutorials. So don't use that. That's mine. If you send something there, it will go to that account. I'm not actually using it, so I probably won't see it, but yeah, that is an email here. So after that, we need to add in the password. So we'll just do email_host_password. And this is going to be the email password. So whatever the password is for this, that's what we can add here. Now, to make things safer, long-term, first of all, you'd want to put this into environment variables. So if you ever share your code, you don't want someone seeing your credentials for your email. So they'll be able to go in here, find your email and password, and then log into your email account. So you want to use environment variables, and we'll do that once we're launching this website on a server. But there also is another option that Gmail gives us, and that is something called an app password. So with Gmail, we can tell it that, hey, we want to use a third-party service. So give us a temporary password we can use just for this web app. So that means that if that password gets compromised, it doesn't really affect us too much because they can only send it from this website, and we can just simply change out that password. So it's a password generated for an app, and that way they don't actually have your password. So we'll use that, but we're going to do that a little bit later. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and type in my password. I'll blur it out, even though it's a dummy email. Just might as well be safe. We'll just go ahead and type something in, and let's go ahead and actually send out the email. So our backend is now configured. We added in the backend, the host, port, TLS, and the user and the password. So that's what we need to do to get that set up. We'll go ahead and close out settings.py, and now I can use that send mail function anywhere in my code. In this case, I want to send it anytime a user registers. So I want to trigger this inside of my signals here. So anytime a profile is created, when this check is run right here, we are going to send that password. So I only want to do it when a user is created. I don't want to do it anytime a user is updated. So we're going to go in here, go into the documentation, and let's see how to do this. So I need to import from django.core.mail, and then we need to import the send mail function, and we just need to add in this function. So we'll just add in our information here. So we'll go back to signals.py, and let's just import that. So from django.core.mail, and we're just going to import send mail, so send_mail. And I also want to get my email host in here. So I don't want to manually type in the sender email. So we're just going to import settings here. So we'll just do from django.conf import settings. So now that I have these imported, let's go ahead and actually trigger this function here. So we'll just go ahead and trigger send mail. So send_mail. And the first thing we're going to need, so I'm actually going to create some variables, but the first thing we'll need is a subject. So that's going to be a variable. We'll add that in a second. And then we need the body of the actual message, or let's just say message like that. Now, after that, we need the from email. So this is the user that's going to send it. So we can actually go into settings and we'll get that email host user. So this is the sender. So we'll just do settings.email_host_user. And then we need the recipient. So this can be a list. We can add in multiple emails here. And for the recipient, what I want to do is get this profile's email. So the email is going to be added in that form. So I can just do profile.email. So this is going to be the recipient, anybody that signs up here. Now, the last thing I need to do, if I want to check out the documentation here, we'll just add in fail silently, and that's going to be false. So I'm just going to copy that, and we are going to paste that in here. And there we go. So that's all we need. Now let's create the variables. So we'll just do subject, not in quotes here, but subject like this. So it's a variable, and we'll just say welcome to dev search. And then for the actual message here, let's just say we are glad you are here, or something like that. So whatever you want to actually output in the body. So now that's the message and that's the subject. So if I save this, we're actually going to get a few errors. We have the basic configuration done, but we're going to get an error for several reasons, and I just want to go through that and show you. So to recap, we configured everything in settings.py, so let's open that up. In settings.py, we added in our email backend, our host, port, and basic information. Then in Signals, we simply imported that function, added in our settings, and we trigger that function after a user is created. So we put that in the created check. Once a user is created, we just trigger the send mail function and that will send it out. So let's give this a test here. So I'm going to close out settings here and let's go into our website and let's register. And remember, you are going to get an error, so don't worry about it. We'll fix it in a second. So in this case, we'll just do Dennis test. And then for the email, I'll actually use something here. So we'll just do DennisIV11@gmail.com. And then for the username, just go ahead and add in, call that Dennis test here. And I'll just type in my password, confirm that. And let's go ahead and click this. So we are going to get the error. We'll just hit sign in. And we are probably going to see this error. So if everything was configured right, this is what you're going to see at this point. Now, what's happening here is Django is trying to log into my application or into that email, and Gmail is basically saying, I don't know who you are, I don't want to allow this. Now, this is usually because of something called less secure apps. Now, we're not less secure apps, but a less secure email. And this is saying that we have extra protection on our Gmail account, and typically when you create a Gmail account, it will have it. And we just want to relax the restrictions on our Gmail account. Now, we're still going to have things like two-factor authentication. We'll take care of that. But at this point, let's just take off less secure apps and then we'll test it. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my Gmail account. So let's just do a Google search for less secure apps. And we'll just do Gmail like that. And that should pull up a link here. So if anything, I'll provide you with the exact link. So let's just go ahead and go to that link directly, actually. So I just want to pull that up. I'll paste that in here, and then I'll put this somewhere in the notes or description. But it's myaccount.google.com, less secure apps. So we're going to go here. And right now I'm logged into that dummy email. So Dennis from email@gmail.com. I just realized that this is actually incorrect. So that was my real email. So let me change this inside of my settings.py. So Dennis from email@gmail.com. So this is probably not relevant to you, but I just need to fix this really quick. So in settings, it's dennis.from.email, and that is how we set that up. So that still would have given me the same error. So at this point, for this email account, so the email account that you're using, go ahead and allow less secure apps, and we'll go ahead and just turn that on. So this means that we're just going to relax the restrictions a little bit. And in theory, Google won't recommend it, but if we're using this for an app like this, we will need to turn this off, and Google won't throw this error next time. So I go ahead and check that. Now less secure apps are on. And what I'm going to do is quickly just go into my admin panel, delete that account, and we will recreate this. So I'll go into my account, we'll go into profiles, and we'll go to Dennis test. I'm going to delete that profile. And because of my signals, the user should be deleted too. Now let's go ahead and re-register this user. So if I go to register now, let's go ahead and type this in. So we'll just do Dennis test, and I'll just use this email. So I actually want to send it somewhere. I want to make sure that it sends. And then for the username, and we'll just confirm the password. Okay, so now when we click sign in, this should register an account and it should send out an email. So everything went correctly. Our account is created. We are now in our account page. And let's go ahead and check that email. I just forgot what this page was supposed to look like. Okay, so we have an account now. And if I go into my email, I'm going to go into my settings here. And by the way, when you get less secure, when you turn on less secure apps here, you're probably going to see something like this. And Google is going to say that it blocked an attempt to log in. We're just going to ignore it because that was us. Now, I'm going to go to my sent emails. Now, here is the email I just sent. I sent it to this address here, and for some reason it wasn't delivered. Oh, that's because it went to the wrong email, but we can see that it was sent out, or at least it tried to. So here is the actual email. We see the subject, welcome to DevSearch. We are glad you're here. And if that email was a real email, and I forgot to put a Gmail right there, so I'll zoom in a little bit. Because of that, I got this error, but we know that the email was at least attempted, and this user would have received that email here. So what I want to do next is actually not have to use my real password. So I want to use something called an app password. So for this, I'm just going to go to my account here, and we need to set this up. So basically we want to go back into settings.py and not use this password. We want to actually use our real app, and it's blurred out for you at this point, but now that I deleted it, I can go ahead and see that empty string. So we want to modify this. So we don't want this password when we try to log in now. So we'll go into Gmail account. So let's just do that. And this should take you to, or it should pull up accounts.google.com. No, that's not the one. So let's just type this into the browser. I'll just do my account.google. So we'll just go to myaccount.google.com. So this is where we can actually create our app password. So when you go in here, we're not going to worry about that right there. Let's go ahead and go into security. So in security, we need to create an app password. Now, in theory, in signing in Google, in this section, you should see an option to create an app password. Now, this is probably not going to work because we don't have two-step verification on. So I'm going to pull up another link here, and I'll paste this into the browser again. So we're just going to go through these steps here. And it's telling you that if you don't have an app password or you don't see that option, basically we're going to go through the steps. We'll go to my Google account. We'll go to security, which we just did here. We went to security. And then it's saying on signing into your Google panel, choose app password. If you don't see these options, this is probably why it's happening. One, you don't have two-step verification on. Two-step verification setup keys are not prepped, and so on. So there's a couple of things that might not allow this. So in my case, it's because I don't have two-step verification on. So let's go ahead and go into signing into Google. We'll go to two-step verification, and we're just going to go ahead and add in an extra layer of security. So we'll get started, and this is going to need me to type in my credentials. So we'll just go through this process, and it's probably going to ask me to provide some kind of phone number. So I'm just going to hide that phone number. We'll go through this process. I'm going to hit next. So it's telling me that anytime we are going through this process, send out an email. That's going to allow us to add in two-step verification. So I just got a text, and we'll just type that in. So go through this process, add your phone number or a backup email, and we'll just proceed with this. Okay, so that's the code I just got. We'll continue, and I'll probably blur that out. And now we just turned on two-step verification. So again, I'll blur out my phone here, and let's go back to Google and my account. So myaccount.google.com. Now, I can go into security now, and if I go in here, I should now see app passwords. So I turned on less secure apps. I added in two-step verification, and now I can see this option in signing into Google. So in that section. So let's go ahead and create an app password. So in this case, it's going to ask me to log in again. We'll run through this process, and I need to create a new app. So in this case, I'm going to say other, and I'll just say dev search website, and we'll just go ahead and generate this. So this just gave me this password. So I'm going to delete it before this video is done, so I'm not worried about you seeing this, but we're just going to take in this app password, and now we can add this into our email host password. So I'm going to throw that in here, save it, and I'm going to delete that user and try to re-register. So let's go ahead and go into our admin panel. I'll close all this out here, and let's go into dev search. I'll log out. We'll go to admin. I'll delete that user. So we'll go into profiles, and that's going to be Dennis Test. Delete, confirm it, and that user should be gone. Okay, so let's go ahead and re-register now. So we'll go in here, and now the only difference from last time is that we are no longer using our password. So if this gets exposed, all I have to do is delete this, and I think the limitations are limited to the actual email account. So we can simply just generate a new one and update that like periodically, and that'll be safer. So we'll go into register. We'll go into sign up here, and we'll just do Dennis Test. And this time I want to get that email right. So DennisIV11@gmail.com. It's one of my junk emails. So in here, we'll just do Dennis Test, confirm that, or add in the password and confirm it. Okay, so when we hit sign in, let's see how this works. So everything looks good. If I go to my Gmail account, we'll go in here. Let's see the email here. So I can see that I created an app password. So I got that alert. If I go to send, and there we go. Welcome to Dev Search as a subject. We are glad you're here. And that's done. That was sent from dennis.from.email or at gmail.com to DennisIV11@gmail.com. So that's it for this process. In the next video, when we do password reset, we already have our backend configured. So we will continue to use this, and we just have to set that up for actual password reset functionality, but we are able to send emails from our Django account.